if the Office of Controller and Auditor General has the required capacity to do an audit of all the 290 constituencies, half the MPs will be in jail. I think what the president could do better is to be a church leader.
Why though?
Because he'll be preaching to us about God that we have not seen, and we need to believe, because he's believable when he explains, but the parameters are different. Yes, the dollar has come to 142, but for how long are we going to sustain that kind of strength?
And you're just in time for Richard Mwenje exclusive this third week of February, the year of our Lord 2024. It is always a pleasure and such a distinguished honor to have you on board. The ship is Richard Mwenje exclusive, and I'm yours truly, the host, Richard Mwenje. And with me today is none other than your favorite powerhouse and think tank himself, former cabinet minister, the first of his name, Kipruto Arap Kiro. How are you, sir?
I'm happy, Richard, and I thank God for he allows us every morning to wake up and breathe fresh air in Nairobi and upcountry.
Yet again, umetukaribisha kwako, and you are under this bamboo sort of forest, sort of very tranquil.
Yes, I don't know, I have some affinity for bamboo, partly because of its beauty. You can see it is decorated in two colors, green and yellow. Secondly, it is also good water reservoir. Bamboo on the riparian creates a very nice reservoir because it's able to hold the water upstream instead of percolating to the river so quickly and leaving the rivers dry. It seeps through the year, and therefore it is the best reservoir that this country can have on riparian land, both in terms of semi-arid and arid, and even in some of the high potential areas. Well, bamboo is a cure.
Bamboo is a cure. Well, that perhaps why it doesn't come as a shocker to us, why you have voted the best performing agriculture minister. You seem to have the facts right.
Well, I try, because you see, the alternative is a disaster. There is nothing as bad as talking about facts you are not clear about. You make yourself look funny.
Okay, that of the way, into straight into the day's conversation, and you have to start with insights from the recently concluded executive and parliamentary group meeting back there in Naivasha. Of course, a meeting whereby the government was expected to take stock of their performance this far and also chart the path ahead that will help them fulfill their manifesto that they made and promised Kenyans. But let's start from these remarks by President Ruto, whereby he's calling out Kenya Kwanza politicians who are taking concern with some of the government's agenda and policies, asking them the only duty should be defending the government manifesto and helping him deliver on the manifesto. Which begs the question, should the parliamentary group, that is Kenya Kwanza, facilitate what the president wants to do, or it should actually be there to voice on behalf of the citizens?
Well, normal democratic processes demand that you disagree internally within the same outfit, and therefore Kenya Kwanza members of parliament have a right to disagree with the president when they feel the policy position they are holding is not in tandem with the reality on the ground. But going public and criticizing the regime they are part of, for me, is pretentious, in the sense that you should have been able to fashion out some of those challenges internally, excuse me, and you come out when you realize there is no room to criticize. But something I can say is that the president is in a hurry, because he knows more than anybody else that 5 years is a short period in politics, and therefore he's going to be measured against his performance by the next election. But the challenge, there are two challenges. One challenge is that they were not able to translate the manifesto into policy document for purposes of implementation by public officers. Public officers never read manifestos of political parties, but they wait for policy position to be documented, and that policy position is what they implement according to certain milestones expected of public servants. The second issue is that they have failed to be a team. Listening to the president from time to time, he seems to be talking to people who are a few steps behind him. They are not with him. So what I would request of him, first, is to do more of these retreats. Two, allow them to have collective vision of the position he holds himself as the president. Because I don't think he wishes Kenya, he wishes anything bad for Kenya. He means well for Kenya, but the team does not seem to gel very well and have collective vision with him for purposes of delivering on the milestones or on the promises they made to the people of Kenya.
Advancing that conversation further, and you being a seasoned governance expert and a seasoned politician in this country, do you consider the parliament of the day to be a parliament that is big into facilitation instead of being a parliament big on oversight?
Well, this parliament has almost conflicted its role in the sense that they spend more time looking like they are ministers, well, when they are not ministers. Their main role is really to represent the people, to oversight the regime of the day, and also make laws that reflect the reality of Kenya. But they have failed in the three aspects. When they make the laws according to the thinking of the president and Kenya Kwanza. When they are supposed to represent us in that house, they represent us in a way that is not admirable. And when they want to oversight, they fail to realize that they are not part of the executive. They are part of legislature, and therefore they are supposed to oversight both the judiciary and the executive. But what has created this mongrel are two things. One is emasculation of parliament by the president himself, by buying off some of the parties, starting with UDM, and now Jubilee is almost on the throes of destruction. The second issue has been this issue of CDF has made members of parliament become like a sort of quasi-executive, where a CDF chairman, a CDF patron, that's a member of parliament, is implementing certain projects on the ground. Therefore, is behaving like a permanent secretary, is behaving like a district commissioner, is behaving like a county governor, and this therefore makes him sort of vulnerable. And I've said before, and I will say it again, if the office of Controller and Auditor General has the required capacity to do an audit of all the 290 constituencies, half the MPs will be in jail.
We shall see the Auditor General flag out
there are many of them. There are many of them, whether it is bursary for needy families or needy students, whether it is roads being constructed in various constituencies, whether it is classrooms, they are not giving value for money. I can say that without any fear of contradiction, and if there is any contradiction, let the Controller and Auditor General prove me wrong.
So are you saying even the current regime is not worthy the praise on the fight against graft? They haven't put really the sufficient strides that should be there?
Well, if anybody say this regime as an iota of thinking about fighting corruption, that will be misuse of English words.
That would be misuse of English words?
Yes, definitely, because you see, this regime is riddled with corruption. How do you take, I've told you before that if there is a storekeeper in Kablamai, he passes in the evening and some 10 bags of maize are lost. He goes to Nyakinywa, he goes to Toro, he goes to Kibagenge, he goes to BD. Then you bring him to Sibanga, now he's going to take care of the stores, maize stores in Sibanga as your main point man. Either you are stealing with him or he was stealing for you.
The president has already been set.
Yeah, it has been set. Because you see, I admire Rojic's credentials. I admire Mwaura's credentials. But neither of them was supposed to be closer to Treasury or Kenya Revenue Authority.
Very well.
Given the past history of those particular offices.
Very well. Shifting gears, and a concern that has come out of the executive and parliamentary group retreat in Naivasha is that the opposition of the day, led by Raila Odinga, is so big into opposing everything that the government is trying to do without offering alternatives. Do you think that is an argument you can subscribe into?
No. What I don't know, I would prefer that we are specific on issues. Retreat, I support. For the president to take a retreat and come out with the policy position that reflects the realities of the day and also is able to identify milestones that can be achieved over the next 5 years or so. I remember in the past, I was part of the National Economic and Social Council, a council that was able to funnel out what is now referred to as Vision 2030. It was not just a product of the academia, a product of civil servants, a product of seasoned politicians. It was a national discourse that we came up with milestones that we need to achieve between then and 2030.
Very well. And another insight that has come from the retreat is that the president still holds the view that the housing tax will see the light of day in the fullness of time, actually in the near future. And one of the conduits to achieve that is that there is a proposed new housing bill. And we had this conversation the other day, and you said we don't have to do away with the entire bill. All we need to do is just do a little bit of calibrations therein. What do you think will be the potential and the best way to address that? What should be inculcated on the bill and what should be dropped along the way?
The last time I knew about policy testing is what we call piloting. I would have expected piloting of the housing levy to be done, but in a voluntary way. Go to Kapsabet. Say there is the potential for Kapsabet to have like 200 houses. Look for people who are willing to move into that housing scheme. Let them sponsor a scheme that has certain models that are achievable by any standards. Those who can afford a house for 3 million, a house for 5 million, a house for 2 million, they can also fund, and we can use even the diaspora to do that. But you cannot take away money without my permission. You cannot take away land from a county without the permission of the county. You cannot use public money and money you've conscripted from people. Then you say you are selling it to individuals in the private sector. One, you are making private what is public. Two, you are forcing us to own houses that we don't need. I told you at the beginning of this conversation that a house is a house. Whether it is scratch thatched, mabati, roofed, or tiled, a house is a house. Let me make a choice what kind of house do I want to live in. Let me make a choice of what can I deny myself now to be able to own the house. But don't force me that yes, you have to have a house. Yes, we are taking away money from you, and we don't have to commit ourselves whether we'll give you a house. Because Richard, today, what is the difference between those who are contributing to the housing levy and those who are not contributing? We have the same chance of getting a house. There's nothing that confers me if I'm contributing that gives me special privilege. So my take is that we are living in a democratic society. Let us be democratic in every state. Let us pilot this thing. If it succeeds, it can be implemented over the period. It does not have to be implemented in 10 years because Ruto thinks that he has already won the second election and therefore he wants to do everything under his roof. life is more complicated
than he thinks. Rightly put there. And from the president's optic and from a general standpoint, he feels that the country is on the right bearing, and their performance this far is something he feels people should be confident and optimistic about, that the future is going to be better. From where you sit and from your optic, Kiro, let me understand, how aligned or misaligned do you think we are from our true north as a country, and particularly as an economy that is Kenya?
I think what the president could do better is to be a church leader.
Why though?
Because he'll be preaching to us about God that we have not seen, and we need to believe, because he's believable when he explains, but the parameters are different. Yes, the dollar has come to 142, but for how long are we going to sustain that kind of strength? Yes, the cost of living was almost improving the other day, and fuel has come to 206 per liter of petrol. But where was it when he took over office? It was at 150. Where was the dollar? It was 123. Where is it now? It's 142, which is also not sustainable, because it is for a short period. But I like him because he has very positive vibes. Even when he knows the ship is sinking, he will be shouting that the heavens have opened up. You have a chance to go to heaven directly, instead of waiting for you to die in the next 10 years or so. So he's a good preacher, but not a good president.
Well, there you have it. President Ruto is a good preacher, but not a good president. That is coming out of the powerhouse and think tank that is former cabinet minister Kipruto Arap Kirwa. Always a distinguished honor to host you on this particular program, and also on my trademark program, that is Business Glide. We really don't take your support for granted, sir.
Yep, I will always support you, because you are well intentioned, and I always like capturing the intentions of an individual. But don't behave like some guys in town.
I should not behave like some guys in town.
Some guys in town.
Very well.
In town. I don't know who, but you know them.
I won't let you down.
Yeah,
well, until we meet next on this particular edition, or rather program that is Richard Mwenje exclusive, on my alternative program that is Business Glide, do enjoy the rest of your day and have a blessed week ahead.